Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica, our continuing series on the Wii U, and today we're taking a look at Pikmin 3, the third game in the series and my favorite in the franchise so far. Before we get too far involved, if you could do me a huge favor, go down below and hit like and subscribe, ring that notification bell, we appreciate it. And if you feel so inclined, we got a Patreon link down there as well if you want to support us. But Pikmin 3 is the evolution of the first two games, and I think it is the best so far in the series, although I'm really holding out hope that we get a Pikmin 4 after Pikmin 3 releases on the Switch. And these games are just meditative experiences where you're solving puzzles, looking at the environment, and having a great time doing it. Because they're not the most intense games, even though they have boss battles, and even though you do, in an indirect way, fight enemies, but playing this is a great palate cleanser after a huge action game, and I had an incredible experience playing this when it came out, because I played all three of the Pikmin games, and I've enjoyed my time with each and every one of them. But I feel like Pikmin 3 does it the best, because the first game had a day limit, and it was really stressful to try to achieve everything you needed in that time frame. The second game was amazing, but seeing this in full HD with all the different design iterations they've used throughout the series, I just think it's the best example of Pikmin. And I love that Shigeru Miyamoto's entire concept of this was when he was gardening, watching bugs running around, because you could absolutely see where the random inspiration from the designer comes into play here. Because this does feel like a garden simulator. If you ever watched the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where they're running around in the backyard and suddenly the garden and all the bugs in it become these terrifying things because of the small scale, Pikmin 3 is delivering that to you. And I love the new diversification of the different Pikmin, because if I throw the rock Pikmin at this gate, nothing's going to happen. You have to switch your mechanics around and use the right Pikmin for the right task. Get 10 of the pink flying Pikmin and we can lift this gate up. But as you'll quickly see, that was a bad idea, because I don't have a great loadout to be able to fight these enemies right here. And you're always managing what you need to do versus what you have available to you. Because if I had an entire cast of rock Pikmin, 100 of them, beating these enemies would be much easier. Because I was short on the rock Pikmin, I am going to get absolutely decimated and destroyed in this area. And every time you see those little Pikmin ghosts floating up into the screen, you know you've lost one, and you kind of grow attached to them. You don't want them to get into harm. You want to protect them, and that's kind of the trick that the game plays on you, is it makes you really care about your little guys. And you are able to revert back to previous days or to retry a day, because trying to beat those 3 ladybugs was just a bad idea. And I like the fact that the game isn't too punishing on you. You can just say, forget it, I'm going to restart the day, I'm going to go back a different day and try to do something better. So it allows you the freedom to experiment in the game and come up with the way that best works for you. And there is some really quiet parts of the game as well. All I want are these berries over here, because as those are brought back to the ship, they're going to produce different things for us. You'll see different bottle caps on flowers with numbers marked on them, and they're going to produce different Pikmin. Depending on the color of the bottle cap, if it's red, you're going to get a red Pikmin. If it's black, you're going to get a black one. So there's a lot of resource management in this game, because not only do we have to deal with the Pikmin we have and creating new ones, but you'll see in the top right hand corner there, we have a juice meter, and we have 23 bottles of juice currently left. And we need to feed the people on the ship every single day by finding fruit in the environment. So you do need to make sure that you can continue, or you have to kind of revert back and find those fruits to make juice. So while the game and each individual day is pretty relaxed, the overarching narrative is you always have to be managing your resources to make sure you don't put yourself in an unwinnable state. And you'll see there, our yellow Pikmin are invulnerable to electricity, and they're able to break that gate. And to get 10 more pink Pikmin, all we need to do is bring this bottle cap back. But when you're exploring the area, you need to decide who do you want to carry them. The red Pikmin are the most versatile, but yet they're the least powerful in any one category, so I'm going to use those guys to send that bottle cap back to home base, because I'd rather keep my specialty Pikmin with me. And you'll see here as you go into this little area, we're coming up on a very large quasi-boss battle, and I'm going to realize I don't really want to do it right now. I don't have the resources, I don't have the right strategy, so you can just basically give up, call your Pikmin back and say, forget it, let's try again. What I want to let you do is just watch a little bit of the game, hear the really soothing soundtrack, because this game is just It's a very peaceful game, even if it is stressful at times. I do like the fact that you get these little bits of story here. You can read them on the Wii U gamepad or see them on the screen. But enjoy watching this, just kind of seeing the resource and character management that we deal with. And I'll be back in like a minute and a half at the most, and we'll finish up talking about why you should definitely play Pikmin 3 if you haven't. So you'll see we had to throw the black rock Pikmin over to this crystal because the yellow guys weren't just able to shatter it where the rock Pikmin can. And that's what I really enjoy about the game, is that you're always thinking about how you manage those resources. Because now we found 2 halves of a kiwi, and we're going to be able to stock up some more juice to be able to play more days in the game. And that's the really charming aspect of Pikmin 3, is that in the day-to-day minutia, you're not really doing a ton. You're collecting fruit, you're beating a few enemies, you're trying to stock your Pikmin back up, but you really need to be thinking long-term of how is today setting me up for the next day. And you'll hear that bell right there as well. You only have so much time in an individual day. Once the sun sets, you need to be back to your ship. But because we have sent some Pikmin back, we're able to pluck them and add to our stock. And it's like any sort of real-time strategy game, you really need to worry about your characters and your inventory. If you think about them as troops, you need to be able to make sure that for whoever you lose, you're gaining somebody back. Because if you end up losing too many Pikmin, you're going to really struggle in some of the later stages of the game. But we did get those kiwis back to the ship, and it is a new fruit that we've discovered in this second playthrough of mine. And once you see what the fruit looks like in the end, you can just tell they had so much fun making it. Because this game is visually stunning, and I can't wait to see what it looks like on the Switch as well. Again, I mentioned it in previous videos, the depth of field effects that Nintendo was able to pull off in their games on the Wii U just really give this game a unique look and feel that I really haven't experienced in other places, and it really makes it feel like a small world. Because, I mean, I'm a filmmaker and I use a lot of different lenses, and if I use a macro lens to really have that shallow depth of field and focus in on the small things, this is what I would expect the world to look like if I was that size. They've done a great job of the perspective in this scale. But like I said, if you have never played a Pikmin game, starting with number 3 is fine. I mean, there's a little bit of callbacks to previous games, but you're not missing much. The original Pikmin is fun, but with the limitation on how many days you have, it's a hard place to start. I'd actually play that game third. You can totally start with the second Pikmin, either on the Wii or on the GameCube, although it is going up highly in value. But you're totally fine starting with Pikmin 3 on the Wii U, and we'll see how it is on the Switch. Because I do love what the gamepad gives to us, and if you leave Pikmin behind, they're going to get eaten. I did it intentionally to show you, but I feel bad when I lose a Pikmin, and the game does a really great job of making you attached to them and care about them. But even the transitions between days are really great. You get all these little intercut stories, and you hear about the fruit you got. And I love the animations. That looks like as close to a kiwi as you're going to get in 3D. Maybe someone can make one better, but it just looks so much fun. And I love the names they give it. A blonde imposter. I'm not sure what that means, but there's some jokes I just don't get sometimes. But short of that, thanks so much for watching. If you could do us a huge favor, go down below and hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. It takes a lot of time and energy to make each one of these episodes, and we really appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I love chatting with you guys. But like I said, you do get just enough story in this game to really drive it forward and make you see what's going to happen next and really be intrigued, because you can put this down after playing a day or two, or you can play this for 8 hours and just really get engrossed in it. But short of that, we'll be back next Tuesday with another video in our Wii U series, and we'll have videos on Friday and Sunday as well. But thanks so much for watching. Hope your juice stores are good, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.